Continuing the laws of gifting. And this is gifting at the end of someone's life, called shchiv meira. Shchiv means, like for a shochiv, to lie down. Meira, from evil. Now that you're kind of bedridden because of evil. Give me just one brief moment, folks. I'll pick it up. It should be ready. I don't want to. Okay. If you can call it in, maybe it's better. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Small ash. Put him first, okay? In honor of Bubby Henya. Bubbie, Henya, Hen. Oh, babies. Okay, my apologies. Second. Okay, let's. Okay. Rambam. The laws of person on their deathbed gifting. It's called a shchiv meira. Shchiv means to lie, like shachev. Meira from bad things. They're, they're on the deathbed. That's what the term would be. So when a shchiv meira says, there's some special laws about it that usually would not apply to a regular person about gifting. Right. In other words, a regular person, when just saying something doesn't automatically create that reality. But for someone who's on his deathbed, their pronouncement can and does create a reality of transference of ownership, right? In other words, just simply said, if I say to you, um, I'm gifting you my phone, right? It's not gifted to you until you take possession of it, right? But a shchivmara that says it, you know, it becomes theirs upon the passing of the individual, even though there was no act of acquisition, right? Now, if that person gets better, by the way, let's say, miraculously they got better, then it's not gifted. That's part of right now. If the person says, I give this to you, I'm gifting this to you, the Shchiv Mirah says, I'm gifting this to you, and the person and they says, well, how about I make an acquisition now and take ownership now? So then that would not be the law of Shchiv Mirah. That would be the law of just acquiring it because you made acquisition and it was gifted to you, right? And that would be a different law. Okay. So when he says, Shchiv Mirah says, give me a mana to so and so, the mana should be given after the dying man's death. Right? He says, give this amount of money to so and so. The rationale is that the words of Shchiv Mirah are considered as if they had been recorded in a legal document, and that property concerning was already been transferred. We do not support that the Shchiv Mirah was referring to a buried mana. Yeah, buried mana. So a mana is $100. Right? So he says, give it to so and so. So remember, this is the law of Shchiv Mirah, so it only takes effect when the person after they pass away, right? Now, as we and the rationale over here again, it's considered like a recorded legal document. It's as if he wrote it out on a document, right? And that the property concerning has already been transferred. So it's a mana of property we're talking about over here. We're not talking here about actual money. That's the way it seems. I'm understanding it over here, but let me just double check something here. Mm, okay. So okay, I better understand now. So we do not so the heir, remember, after this person passes away, the heirs get the estate. So they may now want to make a claim that the mana that he was speaking about was something that was buried. We don't suspect that. That's a claim. In other words, it's not actual money that's in the estate, but he buried it somewhere. Why would that even be a thought? I'm not clear. Like, why would that even be any kind of consideration? But it's not. It's not accepted such a claim. And we take it from the estate. Okay. Halacha number 2. Similarly, a Shchiv Mirah states, I have loaned money or entrusted an object to so and so. Give it to this and this person. His words are binding, and then my mishloishtam is not required. Right. So he said, I lent money to Ruvain, give it to Shimei. Right. The money that's owed, take it from Ruvain and give it to Shimei. Or I have an entrusted object by Ruvain and give it to Shimei. So again, these words are binding. Usually they would not be binding. Words themselves are not binding. Remember, there's no active acquisition. Or there's a unique law called what's called Maimin Shloishtam, when you have the three parties involved. In other words, let's say Ruvain, Shimon, and Levi. They're sitting together. Ruvain owes Shimon money. Shimon says, Ruvain, the money that you owe me, give it to Levi. And the three are there. The fact that they just say it, they make that commitment, right? And the three together, it becomes law. Levi now is owed the money from Ruvain, right? That's a unique thing, but that's not necessary over here. Right, because now remember, it's going to a third party. Something that's by a second party is going to a third party. So you might think you need the Maimin Shloishtam, you don't need it. That's the novelty over here. Is that clear? Similarly, if Hashriv Marah says, give so and so this particular promissory note. Remember what happens is when this is all rabbinic law, by the way, and our sages understood and wanted to make things peaceful for a person on their deathbed. Right, on their deathbed, people are not like saying things kind of to make people feel good. Right. I mean, not when it comes to the transference of property over here. They're not saying anything out of feel good, or they don't really mean it. On their deathbed, they mean it. So when they're saying it, we're taking it on face value as is, period. And even though you normally would need some kind of active acquisition, right? So, for example, if I'm gifting something to another person, for example, if I gave it to a messenger to take it, right? And it's my messenger, my agent. And in the middle, I decide I don't want to give the gift. Can I retract? The person knows I'm sending a gift, right? Can I retract? Of course you could. Why? Because the third party didn't get it. I mean, the other party didn't get it. And the messenger was my messenger. If it was the other person's messenger, and by them taking it, they're taking it on behalf of the person who's being gifted. So then it becomes then theirs. But if it's mine and I decide to retract, doesn't matter, whatever reason, can I retract? Of course I can. It's mine. I can retract. Maybe it's not a nice thing. That's irrelevant to law, right? But I can retract it. But so that's the novelty over here. The Shchiv Mirah, this person on their deathbed, death throes, right? What they're saying becomes law, becomes gifted in the saying of it. That's the uniqueness over here. But again, only once they pass away. If they are healed from it, then it's theirs.
Must be the hearers to ensure that this becomes a valid statement. In other words,
whoever the heirs are, whoever the heirs are.
In other words, if
anybody's, we're talking about law. If someone's not keeping the law, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
We're talking about you keep the law.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the honest people that keep the law. You're not keeping the law, so then how you're going to deal with it is you're going to have to go to court for it, right? And then you might, then you'll need, if you had witnesses you had two witnesses that heard him say that, that Yankel is getting, a mana is coming to him. So then, the witnesses will bear their testimony in court, right?
Because it could be someone like a doctor.
Again, but law is not, law expresses that too, but the law has to be the law before you're dealing, with dishonesty of the law. Right?
Now, let's look at dishonesty just as simply in the whole way. So, doctor, this patient, the doctor said, the father said X, Y, and Z.
Well, if the Shchiv Mirah said this and then there was no one there to hear it, then it's not going to take effect, right? So if there's witnesses there, right? So if there's two proper witnesses, so then,
Also the.
yeah, as everything.
Okay.
I mean, to be binding. If it was one witness, then, it might not be itself, in of itself binding. But, again, those are different issues that we'll have to deal with when those laws come up. We're not dealing with that here. We're here dealing with this law in and of itself, right? Okay. So similarly, Shemar says, I give so-and-so this particular promissory note, right? In other words, I'm owed $1,000. Give it to him. The recipients acquire the debt. Mention the promissory note. So the debt now belongs to them, as if the Shchiv Mirah wrote the transfer of the promissory note and gave it to the intended recipient, even though the promissory note was not actually transferred. An heir does not have the right to waive payment of the promissory note that has been given as a matnas Shchiv Mirah. Right. So the heir now can't come and say, okay, right, the heir is the heir of that promissory note, but he isn't, because it went to this other person who wasn't an heir. So the heirs can't come along and say, okay, we'll forgo it. We're not getting it. So it's my cousin. I'll forgive the, no, it was given to this individual. They can collect on it. Again, and even they didn't get the promissory note, so they didn't make acquisition. That's the point over here, right? Because if I had a promissory note and I gave it to you, right? I said, you can collect on it. It's yours. You made acquisition on it, right? You picked it up. You picked it up. It's yours. You made a kinyan, right? Or you made kinyan chalifin, or you took you took your hat and you raised it up. So you made a active acquisition, right? That's not shchiv meirah then, because here it's without anything being no active acquisition, not even you having it. Why is that when a person sells a promissory note to a colleague, or sells or gives rather, right? And an heir waives payment, the waiver is binding, while the shchivera apportions a promissory note as a matna shchivera, the heir cannot waive payment. Oh, this is interesting. So if a regular person, right, a healthy person, gives or sells a promissory note to another, right? And then that person dies. That promissory note can be waived by the heirs. So the rationale is that transfer promissory note is a rabbinical ordinance. Therefore, according to scriptural law, the promissory note still belongs to the heir. So a promissory note is only a rabbinic law that you can do that. That's interesting. Therefore, the scriptural law that the promissory note then scripturally belongs to the heir, not to the one who I gave it to, or someone, that Reuben gave to, right? Thus, his waiver is of consequence. The transfer of a gift given to Shchiv Mirah is also a rabbinic ordinance. Nevertheless, the instance our sages reinforces decision conveyed upon it the power of scriptural law. So something unique about the Shchiv Mirah, that it's a rabbinic law, but the rabbinic law has made it as powerful as scriptural law. Thus, it is as if the recipient acquired the money mentioned in the promissory note according to scriptural law, and the money already reached his possession. Thus, the heir no longer possesses any right to it, therefore he cannot waive its payment. Wow, amazing. Okay, I would love to continue, but just doing two halachas took a lot of... All right, folks.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a great weekend.
God bless you.
God bless you, too.
Sending you a few emails of the classes that we had today that I did on AI, that made a summary from it. So I'd like you to read it and give me some feedback.
Can you send it to me?